what became something that would be fun to try, something that I had already jumped in and wanted to do, became a total addiction. So about 3 years ago, well, actually even before that, I went to my first track day. I actually got to run one with a friend, and then I got to take my dad to another one to show him what it was all about. And it was an exciting event, and it was hard to really understand from the sidelines, but I knew it was something I wanted to get into. So 3 years back, I picked up a 1993 Mazda Miata and parked it at my apartment complex. Hadn't even told my parents. They came up to go grab lunch with me, and so when they got to the apartment complex, I pointed at the car and I said, "Hey Dad, what do you think? Is that a cool car?" He's like, "Yeah." Well, guess what? It's mine. And ever since then, it's been a family thing for us to go on track days and really get the most out of an automobile. So fast forward to last year, 2016, I had the opportunity to take some time off of work, and I just wanted to cram in every place I've ever wanted to go into one trip. So I planned a trip that would take me to the Salt Flats, that would take me to the West Coast and down Highway 1 and everything a car guy should do. And so I put all this together and ended up turning it into a bit of a production. I wanted to capture the event. I wanted to remember all the good times. And I knew it was the kind of thing where everything that was, every hardship, every flat tire, every sweaty moment in the middle of the summer with no AC would be forgotten, and what I would remember is the amazing sights and the people I meet and all the great things. So I put together this plan, and I've got a creative side, so I really wanted to try out, let me videotape this. I bought a drone, I brought the GoPros, and then I started promoting the trip. Met David Patterson and had him record a video, and we got to become great friends after that. And then got some people following my YouTube channel and got people following me on Instagram, and I got to share this story as if they all came along with me. And so when the day came, which, by the way, you never know you're there until you're like leaving the parking lot. It never sets in until that moment. And right at that moment when I pulled out of the parking lot, I was like, man, I'm not going to pull back in here for another month. Like it was surreal. And so I hit the road, I clicked on the GoPro, and I started recording, and I'm like, this is me, I'm doing this thing. And hit the road and went straight up to North Carolina for Miatas at the Gap, which is awesome. I've been for a couple of years now. Wanted to go even before I had the Miata. Finally, now it's an annual thing. I went from there to St. Louis and worked my way up to Colorado for Flying Miata summer camp. So I got to hit all the major Miata destinations that lined up with my schedule. And then, every stop was amazing. St. Louis, I had people meet up with me. So they had followed along, and so we scheduled and we met up and we grabbed dinner and just got to hang out and chat cars. It's really like a fraternity that extends across the whole country and probably the world. And I got to connect with that and meet people all over the place. And a big part of the trip, everybody's telling me, you're going to meet people. That's the greatest part. You're going to meet people. And I'm like, yeah, maybe on your trips. But mine, I'm going to be in the car. All I've got is time for is gas stations and photo ops. Well, you'd be surprised how many people you meet at gas stations and photo ops, and I certainly did. And so I finally made it over to the Salt Flats. And by the time I got there, I was ready to call it done and turn back and go home. I was like, if all of this was just for this moment, then it was worth it. It was incredible. I set up the drone and I went out on the Salt Flats and I just slid the car around and had the most fun with the most beautiful view. I got to see sunrise over the infinite that is the Salt Flats. And it was such an experience. If this is anything that gets you excited, I urge you, go do it. Go try it. Go on that trip, go on that adventure, because it's totally worth it. I got to meet up with my dad in San Jose. It was mostly a solo trip, but he flew in and I picked him up from the airport. And then we went down together on Highway 1 all the way down to Los Angeles, which was breathtaking. And it turns out that's actually a difficult thing to schedule. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of natural disasters and things like that, with bridges collapsing and all kinds of issues. And when we were there, there was a huge forest fire. So there was a lot holding us back from being able to do this, but we made it through. And when we got to Big Sur and all that area, it was absolutely gorgeous. I've got these shots of just the car crossing over the bridge from the ocean. It's just unreal. And everywhere I went, I got thumbs up. I mean, people they get it. You know, it's such a cool experience, and it's so fun that I get to share it. So going on this trip and doing these track days and turning it into a family activity, and all the friends I've made through it and everything, it really brings to light that this is more than just a car. And really, it's a member of the family. And this car will be a member of my family forever. Barring something terrible happening to it, I'm keeping this car forever. And if something terrible does happen to it, I will rebuild it, because that spirit, it will always be alive and will always be something I want to hold on to and be able to share with one day my children and everybody that I encounter from here on out. It's really more than a car. And when you do something like this, there's no way you can go without really feeling that and experiencing that these cars are just another part of your life.